I said quality, reverse logistics. We have to worry about the circular supply chain. In earlier days, we worried about supply chain, how to move materials from suppliers to customer. We worried about delivery. Now we are worried about reverse. We are worried about environment. We are worried about disposal. I will reject the item that I have purchased and send it back. Do you think it goes back to the warehouse? The amount of effort taken to go take it back to the... Is it possible to return a 200 rupee item back to the warehouse? Maybe no. It is worth maybe by the company to dispose it someplace. Or there will be small pickup points here and there where to handle it. The point I'm trying to make is distribution network has become immensely complex. So the supply chain game has totally changed. We are worried more about returns, repairs, recycling, discard. We are worried about payments. We are worried about how to handle the consignments. So the whole supply chain is working not only on information and materials but also on finance. So anything without an ROI does not work. Now I am here to take a 45-minute session. If there is no ROI at the end of the day for you, then I have failed in touching base with you and creating some excitement in supply chain. Right? So everything comes with a ROI. If you are making an investment on your time, then there has to be a return. So any investment on supply chain has to come with a return. So these are fundamentals in supply chain that you and I already know, but still I wanted to touch upon it before I go ahead. Now, the word supply chain management itself is obsolete. There is no word anymore in the corporate world which is called supply chain management. It is only there in the curriculum. Right? We still say supply chain management. Even foreign universities have MBA courses in supply chain management. Industry talks about supply chain engineering. So there is no longer the need for managing what was to be managed earlier. We are managing it very well. You know why? Because Industry 4.0 is there. Technology has taken over all those transactional and operational problems that existed in the supply chain. We do not need to manage what we needed to manage earlier. AI has taken over a lot of things. What we need to do is engineer the whole thing. We are here not now. We don't need to be programmers, coders, etc. Every second person down the lane is a Java programmer. I think I have a commercial setup. I think even the Panwala fellow will also say his son is a Java programmer. Everybody around the rail lane is a Java programmer. So we don't need to be programmers, you and me. We need to know what to program, how to program, when to program, for whom to program. We need to understand the workflow. So we need to engineer. By engineering, I do not mean machines, tools, jigs, fixtures. I'm not asking you to be software engineers. How many of you here are from engineering background? See, the beauty is, in supply chain, you do not need to have an engineering background. If you have, good. If you don't have, even better. Because then you come with the knowledge of the environmental problems, the customer problems, the business problems, and you can apply it. So, in a supply chain industry, people from all functions and departments can qualify, do an MBA in supply chain and get into a very, very successful role. By engineering here, I also mean engineering the network. See, it's a network, right? Suppliers, manufacturers, there could be 48 depots, there could be 285 decoupling points, there could be 5,674 depots and so many places to deliver. So many retail shops. Finally, what is it? It's a complex network. In this complex network, we need to re-engineer the entire network. That is where most of the jobs lie today. We are lacking people who know how to model. You need to model what? Where do I have to place the depot? Where should I have the decoupling points? Should I have, how much of capacity should I keep in each of these places? How much of resources should I keep? Should I at all keep one depot in Ludhiana or should I keep one in Malleshwaram? Should I keep one next to Garden City University for these products or should I keep one in Pedia? And if so, what should be the configuration? What should be the resources there? Which are the products I need to handle there? Where should I distribute? Where are the markets larger? If I need to even keep those depots, how much of volume should I handle? All this is mathematics. So a little bit of mathematics. It is nothing but optimization equation. So some of you with a little bit of background in OR would know we talk about the function Z. How many of you have some idea about OR, Operation Research, in your MBA curriculum?
Just there in first semester.
Okay. So soon, when you come across the topic of OR, please focus on optimization. Life is about optimization, right? Everything has to be optimized. We need to have a trade-off. So you will soon learn about an optimization equation, which talks about a function z, which is a function of various x's, x1, x2, x3, x4, x5. What are these x's? They are variables that affect the function. And we will talk about constraints, problems which exist. So the entire OR model talks about optimization equation, how I am going to increase productivity, how I am going to reduce cost, how I am going to increase customer satisfaction, how I am going to optimize my resources. Yeah. So those are the important things that are required to be understood and engineered. Hence the word engineer. By engineering we mean engineering and re-engineering we mean restructuring, reconfiguring and changing the parameters in such a way that we have a different kind of network which actually suits the client, not the traditional network that existed earlier. So today these are the various models that we are working on, improvising, and we are also worried that we do not have a lot of people who are able to understand and interpret and implement these models. Hence, all MBA students who are undergoing the supply chain management should be able to, when you go for an interview, if you are given a complex business situation, like I do some consulting in supply chain. I used to do more earlier, I do a little less now. But my job has been in people giving me complex problems and me trying to come with solutions. So if I am able to provide a solution, I have a job. If I know how to implement the solution, I may have a lesser paid job, because there are people to implement, there are no people to design. There are no people who have foresight and can strategize what to do, match the constraint. What is important is understanding these location models, inventory models, routing models, scheduling models, distribution models, understanding what can go wrong and right in these models. So for that you do not need a programmer, you do not need an engineering background, you do not need software. You need to understand the variables and be able to map it, to be able to develop the model. That is where the job lies, to be able to understand variables, interpret those variables. Right? Now, earlier we used to talk about problems in the supply chain, like supplier has failed to deliver, this has happened, truck broke down. Supply chain is not about vehicles, people moving around, manufacturing, procurement. Those are fundamental pillars of supply chain. But the problems in 2025 are a little different. Now what are those extra problems that are coming? Ever since the pandemic, we realized that supply chain is not what supply chain existed earlier. During the pandemic, only those businesses survived which had wonderful supply chains. Those businesses which did not have good supply chain perished. They were into loss. When you went to the store during a pandemic, did you want to see on the shelf 28 types of varieties of biscuits? You wanted your fundamental biscuit, right? The basic fundamental biscuit, if it is available, you wanted to grab that. You didn't want chocolate flavor, vanilla flavor, strawberry flavor. Were you looking for that? You were not. You were more looking for masks. You were more looking for pharmaceuticals. You were more looking for the basic fundamentals of food than the varieties. Right? So some supply chains perished and some supply chains became successful because they were able to handle. Where was logistics in the pandemic? We were not even able to move. No resources, no people. But you still had your food, right? Some businesses in grocery, some businesses pharmaceuticals still survived. So the pandemic showed us that what we thought earlier was normal is not normal anymore. So we have to always be apprehensive about these risks and be able to deal with that. Now in 2025, these are the main problems which we are dealing with. Global trade uncertainties. Every other day, there are changes in regulations, compliance, import-export policies, tariffs, sanctions, trade laws. In fact, I have a person in my team whose only job is to find out what is happening in which part of the country, in India, outside, everywhere, because the laws and regulations are constantly changing. Always somebody is at war with somebody, and some path is getting disrupted and we are not able to manage to get the goods from there. So there are companies who are suffering, and my job is to help those companies to still run their business well, get profits, having seen all those constraints. So global trade uncertainty, geopolitical tensions, what I was talking about. Major economies like US and China are constantly disrupting supply chain. You have Russia going to war with Ukraine. You have something or the other that is going wrong where sourcing strategies, production locations are getting disrupted. So we are having to change production locations. I can no longer take from a particular place. So those geopolitical tensions are on the rise. Economic volatility, prices, oil prices, inflations, trading policies. So forecasting tools and predictive analytics are becoming more and more important. Prediction. This can go wrong, why, when, how and how am I going to handle it. Technological disruptions. Too much of technology. Nobody knows how to handle all this technology. It's very good to say AI, this, that, etc. Half the people don't even understand how to use it. But it is very fancy, to come and say, I know this is, this is the thing. Blockchain, wonderful. We have to implement this in the organization. No second organization knows how to do it properly. These are all fancy words which people are toying with in the industry. They are lacking the skill set to be able to implement it in their supply chains. So we need people who are able to have the far side to be able to handle these technologies and implement it. So I'm talking about workflow mapping. No need of coding, need of designing the workflow. How is this going to happen? United Nations, everybody is talking about sustainability. Right? Now sustainability is very good to have on the PPT. It is very good to talk about carbon footprint. It is very good to develop an empirical equation. I have developed many actually. You know why? Because when I go for a presentation, people like to see all these fancy equations. People like to see all these wonderful things that I propose to do. Even I know that it is not possible to be done. Right? Because there are so many things that go in terms of handling sustainability, which many countries are not ready with, many organizations are not ready with. When you're worried about your bread and butter, you are not able to worry about cake. Right? So, like, Marie Antoinette said in the French Revolution, right? So, if they don't have bread and butter, give them cakes. I don't know how much of you know that part of French history. But we are worried about cake, we don't have bread and butter. Many companies are in that stage. It is important for supply chain consultants to be able to go there and try to find out what technology is required for what organization. Everything cannot be used and not required to be used. We are not here to wear something fancy and boast about it. We are wanting to create ROI for ourselves and for the customers. Right? Labor and raw material shortages. Since the pandemic, there is a lot of that. Ocean freight bottlenecks. Now, these are new problems which come. Suez Canal was blocked for a massive period of time. 60,000 containers at one point of time were stranded there. There is a Red Sea crisis because some militants there are creating problems. So now, vehicles cannot come through the Red Sea. The vehicles have to be rerouted through Africa, through the entire tip and then come. So freight costs are going up. So like that, there are so many issues which are coming up which are not foreseen earlier. Nobody knew that these militants will create problem in the Red Sea. We have the strip of Red Sea, the Suez Canal. It was stopped for a considerable period of time, entire trade disruptions, and we had to reroute the entire ships and vehicles to be able to reach the ports. Ports were stranded with ships and did not know where to unload the cargo. These problems, keep arising. So, some of the focus areas, as I said, design and modeling, analytics, data warehousing, technology upgradations. What is ERP? Pardon? Wonderful. What is it all about?
It's more like a systematically managing the operations.
Yeah, operations, marketing, all everything. Anybody has any idea what are the modules in ERP? You know what is enterprise resource planning? So what is an enterprise? What is an enterprise? Maybe you can suggest. Anybody, what is an enterprise?
Small company.
Small, big?
Yeah.
Organization. So enterprises are where various departments come together to form an organization which are going to yield the results to the customer in terms of providing the product or service. Inside the enterprise, there are various departments, as you would have known by now, various departments. Finance, marketing, operations, HR, say whatever, all the departments. All these departments put together run the organization. If these departments were to have several system packages to run their show, we would not be able to manage. So ERP are systems which manage the entire game together, where we are able to get the true visibility of material, finances, resources, people, profit, etc. Able to view it correctly. We are able to see the entire transactions, conduct all the transactions in the ERP package. So enterprise resource planning package, we have from Oracle, we have from IBM, we have from SAP, we have all these packages. These packages are automated systems, tools and technologies embedded together into one framework which help to sustain the business operations. Now, new ERP, WMS, warehouse management systems. There has to be new ERP developed which will embed all these technologies and take care of the enterprise. What do I mean by circular supply chain? As I spoke earlier, earlier there was only one way supply chain. We are worried about one way, from factory to customer. We are worried now about the circular supply chain. We are worried about material movement from the customer to the supplier as well. Right? Circular. We have to complete the loop. And at every point in that loop, we have to worry about the models, as I talked about models, because modeling is a part of the jobs. And at every point, we have to talk about what are the losses. There could be several losses at each point in the supply chain. So in the entire circular supply chain, what we say the nodes, at each of these nodes we need to worry about what are the losses happening. And the supply chain has to absorb these losses, right? Otherwise, the cost of product to the customer will increase. Who will take care of all the losses? Either the organization or the customer. Either of them. The organization takes the losses, organization will shut down. The company will shut down. If the customer, you start passing on all the losses to the customer, the price of your product will be higher than the price that the competition is giving. So you will anyway have to shut down. Because no customer will buy your product. If you try to sell a particular product worth 1,000 rupees at 5,000 rupees, nobody will buy it beyond the point. How much ever branding you do. And then the cost of branding. So losses in circular supply chain is important. We are worried about reverse logistics. We are yet grappling with the idea of how to handle the reverse. So much of reverse logistics is happening. We talked about sustainability. What about sustainability? The triple bottom line. Right? We are worried about planet. Earlier we were worried more about people, profit, etc. Now we need to worry about planet. We have social perspectives. We have environmental perspectives. We have economic perspectives. Also, many foreign companies have started putting laws, rules, regulations. They will not outsource anything to you if you have not abided by the sustainability norms. Also, recently, there are human norms. Very recently, I came across a project where the contract talks about first time I saw in my life that people are talking about how you are treating the people in your organization or in the supply chain. So human-centric norms, then only the contract is signed, which means world is worried about how resources are being treated. So there are 7 to 8, terms in that contract. I had to actually do some research to understand that actually in the first place. So much of rules and regulations on how we are handling our people. So those are new things. Earlier when we were worried about fundamentals of supply chain, we never worried about all this. Now because we have technology handling supply chains, we are worried about the other parameters, and those are where the jobs lie. See, SCAAS, supply chain as a service. Supply chain as a service is a big game, because we talk about, have you heard about the word 3PL? Third party logistics service providers. Who is a 3PL? Pardon?
Blinkit, Zomato, somewhat like Blinkit, Zomato.
Yeah, okay. Blinkit, Zomato are vendors and partners. There is the DHL, there is the FedEx, there is the DPDC. They are
delivery.
third-party logistics. We do not do some of the jobs in the organization because we do not want those competencies within us. We want to give those jobs to other people because they are competent in that field. So we outsource. So earlier we used to use the word 3PL. We don't use the word 3PL anymore. We use the word 10PL. Why 10PL? Because SCAAS or Supply Chain as a Service is a business by itself. In 10PL, there are multiple amount of things which these solution providers are providing to organizations. So now no longer 3PL. Earlier days, we used to think 3PL means they will bring the truck, they will bring the vehicle, they will do the warehousing, they will tell us to keep the materials in that place. We don't have to worry about all the junk that happens. They will put some 12 failed guys to load the items and somebody will move it down and they will organize trucks. Logistics is no longer trucking business, right? Though automation has happened in trucks, we have GPS, we have all. It is about providing solutions. It is again about modeling. So 10PL, maybe later someday, I could explain to you. 10PL is at each stage of those PL, no? When you go from 3PL to 4PL, some additional services are there. 4PL to 6PL, some additional services. 6 to 7, 8, 9, 10. Now when you go to 10PL, this particular organization, one I am associated with personally, takes over the entire supply chain solutions for you. So all your automation, everything is taken care of by them as a package, as a contract, and they take over the entire supply chain end to end for their business, not only trucking warehousing. So world has moved to 10PL. I just talked about the behavioral supply chain. We need to talk about behavior, collaboration, replenishment, different organizations which work within the supply chain talking to each other and having good visibility. So behavioral supply chain, how the supply chain will behave when the entities in the supply chain start behaving. That is a big science by itself. Integrated solution and metrics. I talked about SCM, ROI, profitability and cost optimization. So sustainability again, going back to that, the green supply chain. How we can have the supply chain which is sustainable, environment friendly is very important. Now these are the companies, if you see here, which have very, very modernized supply chain 5.0. What do we mean by supply chain 5.0? Earlier there was supply chain 4.0. Anybody has idea or can tell me about industry 4.0? Yeah, what came in industry 4.0? I just said a while back. Yes, maybe the person at the end. Or the three musketeers there. One of the center person. Yes. What did I say industry 4.0 brought? Any idea, anybody? Industry 4.0? We just talked about.
Make some random guess.
More is based on technology.
Yes. Yes. So when industry 4.0 came, along with that came a huge platter of technology, right? Huge platter of all the technology, starting from IoT to everything that you were talking about all those while. So SCM 4.0 will be thus what? SCM 4.0 will be that supply chain which is digitized, which has adapted industry 4.0 techniques. So that we call it SCM 4.0. What is SCM 5.0? SCM 5.0 is when SCM 4.0 adapted parameters like sustainability, behavioral aspects, those kind of things, human-centric approaches which were not there in Industry 4.0 or SCM 4.0. SCM 4.2 glued onto technology because those days those technology was not there. We never talked about augmented reality. We could never talk about blockchain. We never knew all these things, right? So SCM 4.0 implemented all of this. IBM, Oracle, they came up with new packages, new solutions. That was SCM 4.0. But SCM 4.0 was grappling because SCM 4.2 was not based on pillars of human resources or industry or business sustenance. You just cannot adopt technology and sustain. You have to build the entire organization in such a way so that people, process and everything within your organization, behavioral aspects also sustain that technology. Otherwise, it's a very superficial thing to implement a new tool. Right? So SCM 5.0 started talking about all these other behavioral aspects, sustainability aspects, because from the United Nations Sustainability Goals, they took what is required from supply chain and they built the SCM 5.0. So it's an integrated framework which talks about technology as well as it talks about behavioral things. Just a list of some interesting companies where we can try for jobs. These are the companies which are having modern supply chain 5.0. Leading today is Schneider Electric, not Walmart, not Amazon. So Schneider Electric leads the supply chain market today with very modernized supply chain techniques. Schneider Electric, if you read their case study, has 5 supply chain models. They do not have a single supply chain model. Most companies, we have supply chain model, this is suitable for this company, so the modeling, the design, I talked about optimization equation. So I basically earn my bread and butter most of the days by handling that optimization equation. Okay. So it is the need of the day, because I do not have to worry now whether the material reaches on time. I have spent over 35 years in the industry and I used to worry about whether the material reaches on time earlier, sleepless nights. But now I have to worry about whether the technology is sustained enough in that organization. And how the model will work, how the design will happen. So it's more of design. Schneider Electric has 5 supply chain models. It has 5 ways in which it wants to deals with various types of clients, various types of products, various types of segments, various geography. It's a model what learning. I think we can talk about it later. Earlier we used to only talk about Toyota, right? We only talk about just-in-time, those are obsolete. Those are not obsolete. They are very much there, but they have taken a backseat because all of us are using it. So these are some of the important companies. These are some of the Indian companies, if you see, where all of us can look for jobs. And I just asked you a while back, what are the supply chain success factors? Now these are the focus factors of these companies. If you see the company strategy of supply chain, let's say Reliance. Reliance focuses on digitization and risk management. So just spend a minute, instead of me reading it out, just see what are the various key success factors of each of these companies. Flipkart, AI-driven demand forecasting. If you see Zomato, data-driven decision making, efficient inventory management. So I have just tried to list out what are the focus factors of 2025 that these companies had in their supply chain strategic plan, in their supply chain operations plan, and how they are successful. I cannot see the word sustainability, I've been trying to see it for a long time. I could only see it in Infosys. Isn't it very surprising? See, the word sustainability, we talk so much about SCM 5.0. I don't see many companies, these are top companies in supply chain today. Okay? Sustainability?
Yes.
Where is it? I have seen a repeat, if you see. There is a lot of repeat on the word decision making. If I were to do a quick understanding of what is repeated, I see technology, AI, I see inventory, I see predictive analytics, I see risk, I see digitization. If you see, still companies are not worried about, see, I can only see environment here and sustainability. So we have a lot of work to do on green supply chain, on sustainable supply chains. Just to a snapshot on what these companies are focusing on. This is all what I actually wrap up on what I talked about, on what the companies are focusing on and having these companies, especially the Indian companies. You see, we are still struggling with post-pandemic resilience. Resilience as in, what do you mean by the word resilience?
Capability to survive
A disruption.
yeah.
Wonderful. So resilience is, if you are very resilient, like we have problems in life, we have so many issues happening. So if you are resilient, we are able to adapt to those problems, come up with solutions, and develop some amount of agility to be able to manage the situation. All of these is what I just talked about, is what are affecting the companies today, and this is what they are focusing on. Why this is important? Because jobs will be available more in those areas. Jobs will no longer be available in areas where you're needing to just call up customers, find out things. Those jobs have become slowly redundant on follow-ups because system is doing everything by itself. So these are the main areas. And as I just go back once, as I was just talking about, SCM 5.0 added all these to the technology platform. Human-centric approach, sustainability, resilience, and mass customization. So this is what 5.0 added to the technology platform of SCM 4.0 or Industry 4.0. Now I leave it to you to tell me, why do you want a job in the supply chain market? Why would you as enterprising MBA future leaders of the country want to take a job in supply? I just gave you a quick snapshot of how the supply chain industry is grappling today, or what are the things they are working on, what are the issues. Now why do you want a role? Now this is something where I will not speak. I think I want you to answer. Yeah. From this side, yeah, yourself, did you put up your hand or that was just a gesture?
Kaushik.
First of all, being personal, to make money and make my product to reach the desired person.
Okay, so to make money, why don't you take up any other job, say finance job?
Ma'am, it is very hectic. Supply chain is.
Wait, this is not hectic.
Sir, sorry, ma'am. It's only dealing up, showcasing the product. I mean, if any requirement is there, so that I can provide. In that, we can't have any mind work, just our practical knowledge.
Oh, no need of mind work? I just said that we need not our mind work. But it's good. Thank you for trying that. Yeah, first point he made very clear ROI. Okay. Without money, why should I even work? I need the money for survival. Now we have not yet reached that Vivekananda stage, right? I'm not sure we want to reach it always. But the thing is that yes, we want to make money, but we also want to make money for the organization. We also want the customer to gain. So, supply chain is one function which cuts across all the functions. Tell me one function which supply chain will not cut across. One department in the organization where supply chain will not touch. It will touch all the departments, including HR, including training, those, right? Including admin. Okay. So forget the main functions like marketing, sales and then marketing, purchasing, whether it is finance, whether it is IT, whether it is anything. One department I cannot think of where supply chain managers will not touch. So it is if you talk about finance, then finance is an isolation finance competence. You develop finance competence and you are the finance head somewhere, you're the finance executive. Unfortunately or fortunately in supply chain, you cannot learn one subject and be happy. You have to have the knowledge of all the subjects. If you don't know finance knowledge, no ROI for you in business. Yeah, your supply chain surplus, as we say, will go for a toss. Right? If you do not know operations, my God, then you are even done for, even worse. So we say O2F. There are managers O2F. Now earlier I never used to understand. I come from very old, I'm 56 years old, right? I come from very old thoughts. I don't understand all these abbreviations you all do. My daughter will message me some things, I don't even follow half the things because all is an abbreviation. Then I saw industry is also abbreviating. Like we said, suddenly I went somewhere, people said O2F. Manager O2F. Now who is this manager O2F? And they wrote O and then a 2 and an F. Order to fulfillment. So your life is all about abbreviations. My life was more verbose, right? I used to write more, talk more, understand more maybe. And you have a shortcut, right? Or everything has to be short and sweet and nice. But results have to come. Money has to be made, like he said, right? Without making money, he's not interested. Anybody here who's not interested in making money?
Yes.
So it's good, you're in the right place. Because all MBA students are here to make money for the business. Okay? When you make money for the business, you make money for yourself. Right? So if you stop making money for the business, then money for yourself will also go. Because nobody will employ you. right? So start making money for the business, give it the edge to the customer, you make your money. Anybody else who wants to tell me why you want a role in supply chain? I still have 10 minutes, so yes.
Max to max, AI can't replace everything in supply chain because
Very good.
if we take a drone as a, if one Rapido or any man took a parcels, he will took a 12 to something else. If a drone, it can take on max to max 6, so it will be a negative for them. And there is a malfunction in robots also, it will be, and some of them are dissatisfied in their function, way of giving the robots. If the person is giving, they can call and they can take it. So supply chain is the major, the person can involve, so we can easily get money.
Good. The point he tried to make is very good because he's saying with all these automations, with all these robotics, with all the technology, if the, I will just use the word common sense. Right? In business, actually, you don't need so much of work. We are all working hard. But if you just use normal common sense with a little bit of fundamental knowledge that you will learn in an MBA program, you can actually do very well. So the basic intelligence of a human cannot be replaced by any amount of technology. The decision-making powers, how much amount of coding, formula, I have tried everything. I don't know how to code, by the way, and I'm not interested in knowing. I've never wanted to learn software, and I'm never interested in learning because I want to learn about, because I'm good in strategies, I'm good in vision, I'm good in implementation, I'm good in projects, I'm good in understanding what the workflow will be, I'm good in process engineering. So why should I learn to code? Like I said, no, don't worry if you're not engineers. It is not important. I'm an electronics engineer. I don't know how to do any amount of these things. I don't want to do. I'm very happy because I know what I want to know. Supply chain managers are people who can cut across all kinds of their learnings. They are able to take common sense decisions and decisions at the in one second they can take decisions which worth billions of dollars. And their decision making skills slowly, I mean not in the first day itself, are so large, they are able to take so much of risks and absorb so much of stress. They become more competent in the business world and in the personal world. So with so much of versatility that you develop in a supply chain role, life becomes much more easier game on the personal and professional front because you are more resilient, you are more agile, and you have to take decisions with the snap of your fingertips. You cannot wait, think, watch. By the time everything is lost, right? So that amount of agility develops as you struggle through your, I will use the word struggle through your career in the initial days of the supply chain. With some amount of resilience from your side, if you struggle, there's a beautiful life ahead. Right, so yeah, go ahead. I have just jotted down why there is an excitement in supply chain jobs. See, it is not about moving goods. Please come up with the concept that supply chain jobs, whenever I talk to people, logistics are moving goods. And logistics is more of data-driven decision making than about moving goods. Moving goods, the truck wala will do, na? I will only plan the systems on how he will do. It is beyond movement, storage and warehousing. That is all for you to read in your first 2 chapters in your textbook. Because you need to understand the fundamentals. Data-driven decision making is the prime thing to handle the real world situation. Strategic thinking, global impact, crisis management, every day is a crisis. If you are in a supply chain role, I mean people like you who want a lot of adrenaline rush in your body, then this is the job. Okay? Most of us who want to have that adrenaline rush, crisis management. Understand, the beauty of it is relationship management is the fundamental of the supply chain. Relationships can make or break the supply chain. So, technology implementation, digital transformation, sustainability, we all talked about all of this. You see, even relationship management, human resource management is a fundamental pillar of the supply chain. These are the excitements that we can have within us. Of course, today's situation, you cannot do without algorithm development, ERP, workflow planning, RPA and cross-functional interface. Very fortunately, people who are in supply chain jobs move to CEO role faster. This is because They will move to CEO role faster because they're touching across all businesses. When can you become a CEO? Just if you understand HR, can you become a CEO? No. If you just understand finance, can you become a CEO? You have to understand the whole business spectrum. That's why I say supply chain spectrum. So, supply chain managers move to CEO roles faster. You can pitch yourself better because you understand the business better. Now, the last two slides. These are the level 1, level 2 jobs that are typically available in the market. If you see, the level 1 jobs are more of analyst, architect, executives, coordinator. I can see 10 PM coordinator. If you see here, right from distribution manager to SCM legal, this is a new job. This job was not there earlier. Today we have supply chain management legal. Because we are all getting into legal issues, we do not understand contract well, we do not understand global trade relations well, we do not understand a lot of things. So this is a very nice new job that has come across. Otherwise, right? These are the supply chain jobs. I just made this yesterday. See, this is a hierarchy of roles. These are the key functions in the supply chain where jobs are available. Demand management, supply management, warehouse, transportation, purchase, order fulfillment, service. CTFR means collaboration, planning, forecasting, replenishment. Supply chain transformation. Okay, these are the transformation agents. I fall here. Right? Now, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, these are the levels. These are the various levels. L5 is the director level. L1 is the starting level. So L1 is the level where freshers will join and L5 is the director. So this is the trajectory of your role in each of these departments. If you know this, it is easier because maybe if you are here, you can actually come here. There are crisscross possible which you can understand more when you go through your MBA curriculum also. This is a very, very important thing to keep it in your mind. And these are the skills required. Analytic thinking, data interpretation, forecasting, tech savviness, communication skills, quick decision making skills, stress management ability. So these are the fundamental skills you require. And then the wonderful last slide, because this is the
All right.
So what does a supply chain manager earn? Yeah, 49 lakhs per year. Good to go. So these are all the roles, these are all the salaries in 2025 in India, and this is what is there in the US. Does it sound lucrative, the job, the money? Somebody said you want money, right? So, lot of money, and we are at 11:26. So, 4 minutes more for any questions, and then
Any questions? This is just a beginning. I hope Dr. Fabri Ray will be joining us soon and explore this wonderful career opportunities soon for all our MBA students.
yes, sir.
Brilliant. Let's give a big round of applause.